After several years of planning, the Emperor of Nilfgaard, Emir var Emrys, began his campaign to conquer the north, invading the kingdoms of Cintra and Sodden in 1263 AR. Though they were victorious in the sack of Cintra and First Battle of Sodden, their progress was halted in the Second Battle of Sodden, when the other northern kingdoms mobilized to defend their lands. The Brotherhood of Sorcerers also joined in the defense of the north, losing 13 of their kind in the battle alongside thousands of soldiers. But in the end, the north was victorious and Nilfgaard retreated. Despite their defeat, the kingdoms of Cintra and Sodden were gone, and so Nilfgaard remained in control of Cintra and Upper Sodden, while Lower Sodden went to the kingdom of Temeria. For a few years, the continent settled into an uneasy peace, with many believing another war was inevitable. This paranoia ultimately led to both sides attacking each other in 1267, beginning the Second Northern War, in which Nilfgaard conquered all the lands up to the Yaruga and launched attacks beyond. This war also saw the end of the Brotherhood of Sorcerers, dissolving into 3 opposing factions, with some fighting to defend the north, while others joined Nilfgaard and their new allies, the Scoia'tael, a rebel group made up of elves, dwarves, and gnomes, who wished to take back their lands from the Nordling invaders. The last faction was made up of those who followed Tissaia de Vries and remained loyal to the Brotherhood, yet they could not prevent the collapse of the organization, and so Tissaia killed herself in disgrace. As a reward for their betrayal of the Brotherhood and Northern Kingdoms, the elves who defected to Nilfgaard were given a kingdom of their own in Dol Blatana, ruled by the sorceress Francesca Findabair. Throughout the tumultuous events of the Second Northern War, a number of unlikely individuals played critical roles in the fate of the continent, with some believing their lives were brought together by destiny. First, there was the Witcher Geralt of Rivia, the White Wolf of Kaer Morhen, a legendary monster slayer whose adventures were immortalized in the works of his friend, the famous poet Dandelion. The son of a sorceress, Geralt was given to the Wolf School, where he survived the Trial of Grasses before going out into the world and earning a fearsome reputation. Though Geralt was often cold towards others and felt self-conscious about how he was perceived, he was a man of honor who valued political neutrality and always tried to choose the lesser evil. Yet this philosophy did not always serve him well, as he once tried to protect the town of Blaviken from a gang of thugs searching for a wizard, but the people did not know the full story, and so watched in horror as the Witcher massacred a group of soldiers in the market square, earning him the nickname, the Butcher of Blaviken. Yet Geralt was not only known for his skill as a warrior, but also for his whirlwind romance with the equally famous Yennefer of Vengerberg, a sorceress who became the love of his life. During a mission to seek a healer for his friend Dandelion, Geralt found Yennefer in the town of Rinde and requested her assistance. She agreed, but only because she had a plan of her own, learning that the poet was injured by a djinn, also known as a genie, which in theory could be controlled by magic and forced to grant wishes. Though Yennefer believed Dandelion was the one who freed the djinn and was therefore entitled to 3 wishes, it was actually Geralt, and while he accidentally wasted the first 2, one more remained. As Yennefer struggled to control the angry djinn, Geralt, who in that moment could have anything, made his last wish, believed to have formed a bond of love between himself and the sorceress, tying them together for the rest of their lives. Yennefer of Vengerberg, once a deformed woman with a hunchback, was trained as a sorceress by Tissaia de Vries, and with her new powers, ensured she maintained the appearance of eternal beauty and youth, as well as granting her abilities beyond anything she could have imagined. Yet it also took from her that which she held most precious, the ability to have a child, and this in turn became a driving force for her in later years, as she searched the continent for ways of reversing what was done. When she met Geralt of Rivia and experienced the last wish, she could not help but fall madly in love with him, and for a time they traveled together throughout the north, even sharing a home in Vengerberg. However, their relationship was tumultuous, often leading them to break apart and then return to each other. On one such occasion, the enchantress Triss Marigold took advantage of the Witcher's vulnerability and became his lover, at first merely curious about the man who won the cold heart of her friend Yennefer, but soon developed real feelings of love for him, which endured for years to come. Geralt soon saw his new relationship as a mistake and returned to Yennefer, but he and Triss remained good friends. Unfortunately, Yennefer in many ways saw her feelings for Geralt as an unwelcome intrusion into her life, and was not prepared for the intensity and commitment those emotions might entail. Soon enough, her lies, schemes, and demanding attitude became too much for the Witcher, who left her and returned to his former life, thereby breaking the heart of the enchantress. Sometime later, Geralt and Yennefer met once more during a mission to kill a dragon, and for a time, their relationship was renewed. Yet it was not to be, as Yennefer then chose to play a cruel game with the Witcher, taking him to the town of Edginvel so she could be intimate with the sorcerer Istred, her other lover. Making matters worse, everyone in town knew what was happening except the Witcher, who was informed by Istred himself of Yennefer's infidelity. Heartbroken and humiliated, Geralt waited for Yennefer to explain herself, but she offered little apology and felt no guilt, claiming she needed both men to be happy. Despite his disappointment, Geralt was so blinded by love he could not leave her and so was prepared to fight a duel to the death for her hand. Yet as they prepared to do battle, the two men received letters from Yennefer explaining she left them both. Perhaps even more important than his bond with Yennefer, Geralt once again played with destiny when he tied himself to the life of a young princess from the kingdom of Cintra. In attendance at the royal court by the request of Queen Calanthe, Geralt was present when the knight Urchion of Erlenwald appeared to claim the hand of the princess Pavetta, a girl born with innate magical abilities. Many years earlier, the life of the girl's father was saved by Urchion of Erlenwald, and so he was offered any reward he wished. Urchion invoked the Law of Surprise, meaning he would be given that which the king found upon his return home, but was not expecting. In this case, when the king returned to Cintra, he found his wife pregnant with Pavetta, and so the child was destined to become the wife of the southern knight. His claim to her hand caused outrage amongst the nobles assembled, and some tried to kill Urchion to prevent this from occurring. But in the end, his life was saved by Geralt of Rivia, meaning the Witcher could now ask for any reward he wished. Geralt then invoked the Law of Surprise, and they soon learned that Pavetta was pregnant, meaning her child was destined for the Witcher. Although the White Wolf had no plans of ever returning for the Princess Cirilla, destiny would not allow him to abandon his charge, and so he randomly came upon the girl in the forest of Broculan, where he saved her from becoming a dryad. Although the girl wanted to be with him and fulfill her destiny, Geralt felt it would be wrong to take her from a loving family, and so sent her back to Cintra. But once more they were brought together when Geralt saved the life of a stranger on the road and again invoked the Law of Surprise. When they arrived at the man's home, his child surprise was once again the Princess Ciri, who was taken in by the family after the death of her grandmother and fall of Cintra in the First Northern War. No longer willing to ignore their connection, Geralt embraced Ciri and brought her to Kaer Morhen to be trained as a Witcher. Love The Witcher or any other series? Then why not check out Audible, where they have the largest collection of audiobooks available. Sign up now and get 1 free audiobook and 2 Audible originals, or else give the gift of membership to someone you know. If you prefer to read your stories, then click on the link to the Kindle Unlimited plan and get access to as many ebooks as you want. If you haven't already, be sure to check out the excellent Witcher audiobooks, narrated by Peter Kenny, including the main novels and short stories which accompany the series. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like youtube.com/SoulGuideMedical, Fred Heartless, Knight of Iron and Ice, Sir Daeron of House Ashford, Warden of Secrets and Coin, Lord and Protector of Gulltown, and the Winter Sorceress, Madam Faith of House Scarisbrick, Lady of the North, and Keeper of the White Cloak. If you'd like to help the channel, go to patreon.com/CivilizationEx, where you can sign up and gain early access to videos, vote on future content, and access the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.